All right, hey VC, I'm Jamie. Welcome back. We're back with another video, and this time with a contest entry for TKR Video Central. This is TC's channel, and TC does a really nice job with his channel, and I first found out about it because he is a Eurovision fan, so I'm sure TC's got lots to say about Eurovision for the next one taking place in England, the runner-up, because Ukraine won last time, but of course Ukraine not able to host the next Eurovision, so I'm sure TC has a lot to say about that. Now, I'm here because Vinyl Richie sent me. Vinyl Richie entered the contest and did a shout out to a number of members of the vinyl community, including yours truly. I was very surprised to be on the list, but Vinyl Richie gave me a shout out, as well as many others, to enter this contest. And I think when Vinyl Richie gets on board, this one for this contest has to be, I think, one of the most popular, be it contest entry or vinyl threads going on out there in recent memory for the VC. So TC, congratulations on your channel. I think this was a 200 sub contest, and TC's at well over 400 subscribers. So I think largely thanks to Vinyl Richie and everybody jumping on board. So the idea for this one is to show 10 records, either rarely seen that you think nobody else has, or obscure, that sort of thing. I always find something like this a little subjective. I'm probably going to show something that somebody's got somewhere along the line, that sort of thing. When I do this, I think, oh, I'm sure Daryl from Off the Beaten Tracks has one of these records, but let's get to it without any further ado. First off, kind of a promotional item. This is called Queen Victoria Would Have Called Clairtone Discotheque Sound Absolutely Shocking. Quite an odd title, but this is like a promotional product for Clairtone. They are the makers of stereo consoles. So according to this little write-up, Clairtone makes 20 different kinds of stereo consoles. So I think they kind of handed this out as kind of like a promotional product, you know, so you can play this record on their stereo systems. But what's odd about this, that's on the cover, and then you get all the details about the Clairtone product on the back. But inside is not necessarily a Clairtone product. Inside is the record for Killer Joe's International Discotheque. So in this case, when we're talking about discotheque, we're not talking about disco music from the 70s. This is the very sort of 60s version of the discotheque or discotheque sound. So it's very sort of dun, 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 you know, that sort of thing. So this is Killer Joe's International Discotheque, which was actually an Atlantic release. It had been released separately with a completely different cover. And there you have the song listings there, and that's the label. But they kind of just used this for this kind of thing. So it was an interesting sort of promotional product there. Okay, I've chatted about this group and Rough Trade before. Rough Trade out of Toronto, a Canadian band featuring Carol Pope, and this is a signed album from Carol Pope. So this is on the Umbrella label, and this is called Rough Trade Live, and it's got a very shiny cover, so I do apologize for the glare. But with the whole Mo-Fi thing going on, as you well know, all the Mo-Fi issues, this is not a Mo-Fi product, but this is a special limited edition direct to disc recording. Now this came out in the 70s. This was one of Rough Trade's first albums, and again, it's got that, you know, it's almost kind of silvery metallic cover, so I do apologize for a glare. This has been issued a number of different times, different covers, some die cut covers and things like that. This one is a limited edition number. It looks like 104,193, the number. So to describe exactly what this is, stereophonic direct-to-disc recording, they're saying the most faithful reproduction of sound yet possible. What's interesting, these are live performances in every exciting meaning of the word. I'm just reading off the back here. The artists must perform each side of the album completely as they would play in live concert. No fixing or changing is possible. Commercial recording, the normal recording process, is done first to multi-track tape, then mixed to 2-track tape, and finally fed to a disc-cutting lathe for the master lacquer used by the record companies in the process to produce the records you buy. Direct-to-disc recording eliminates all tape stages, and the result is the most faithful reproduction of sound yet possible. So tough on the artist, because the artist can't flub it and then they, you know, do the edit on the tape. So when it's a direct-to-disc, the artist has to do it pretty much live. So this is live in the studio. This is not live in concert or at a bar or anything like that. So yeah, they have to pretty much do the whole side. And then when they've got it, so they've got a direct-to-disc recording. And so yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting in light of the whole MoFi thing that's going on the Umbrella label. I don't know a lot of groups that have done this. I think this has been done in the jazz world and in the classical world. Rough Trade. And then there's another Canadian band, FM, that did something like a direct-to-disc recording on their second album. But not a lot of examples of it, not that I'm aware of. If you know some, please put in on the comments. Okay, another sort of a promotional record. You know, somebody's probably got this somewhere out there. This is Remember How Great. This is a collector's item from Lucky Strike cigarettes. So this is a Columbia album, just a nice compilation. You know, you've got Louis Armstrong, Count Basie, Les Brown, of course, on and on. But what's odd is with this is that this was kind of a mail-in sort of thing, or these records cost $1, and then you had to also include 10 Lucky Strike packages, empty packages, and then you could get this album. I'm sure it was like a mail-in sort of thing. I got this from my aunt who previously owned this. There were a few Lucky Strike albums, but they obviously teamed up with Columbia on this, so send in, but don't smoke. Send in those Lucky Strike packages. Okay, something a little different, a radio album. This is Peter Garland's Funniest Funnies, and this is spotlighting a station that's no longer around, spotlighting a station from London, Ontario, called CKSL on the AM. I remembered it as 1410 CKSL, but obviously it was also known as just 141 CKSL. So this is Peter Garland, who's had a long career in radio broadcasting, was doing the show on CKSL. So this is obviously, as the title says, funniest moments, so it's a lot of the comedy bits. CKSL stuck around for a long time. They were kind of like a top 40 radio station, and then I think they switched to talk, and then even in the final days they kind of tried sort of different comedy, like stand-up comedy, like an all-comedy radio station, and then they just folded, and they didn't flip to FM, they just kind of shut down the AM signal. So Peter Garland's Funniest Funnies, 141 CKSL out of London, Ontario. So kind of nice to have that. Okay, the rest are kind of, a lot of these are generally regional records that probably, you know, lots don't have in the vinyl community. This is brand new, just picked this up this week. This is the band Brother Leeds, based out of London, Ontario, and Love's Young Nightmare. I know the drummer from the band, Brad Coward. He's also a record seller as well. He's the drummer with the band. They've got kind of a tragically hip thing going on, but the vinyl plays great. This is a completely independent release, and yeah, well worth checking out. Brother Leeds. I guess originally they were called Mother Leeds, but they discovered there's a few bands with that title, so they changed it to Brother Leeds because someone had suggested, you guys always refer to each other as brother this or brother that, so they went with Brother Leeds. So there you go. Okay, some early Perth County music. I've shown this one before, the Cream Cheese Good Time Band. This is Perth County Green. So this is a lovely example of country folk from the early 70s, focusing on Perth County in southwestern Ontario. Uncle Jed was a pretty big sort of regional hit. They also sing about Milverton and Perth County Green. Billy Kell was the main person with this band. They released two full-length albums, and I've got this one signed by the bass player and Dave Harwood, who's still around. He's a real estate salesperson these days, and he's just 17 years old on this album. And Dave Harwood is that individual right there. Dave Harwood, that was Billy Kell. Billy Kell has since passed. But Perth County Green, nice example of some rural southwestern Ontario stuff. And speaking of which, how about the Perth County Conspiracy? Now, their albums are fairly readily available in terms of used copies of them. They did release a few albums on Columbia, also some independent releases on their own record label. This is their first album for Columbia. Perth County Conspiracy does not exist, and this one's signed by Cedric Smith and Richard Keelan, both founding members for Perth County Conspiracy. I've also got an autograph from Harry Findlay, who was kind of a man behind the scenes with this group. I met Richard Keelan just a few years ago and was able to get him to sign this, and I didn't know initially that his daughter lived across the street from where I live. Unfortunately, she's now moved on, but she is featured here, just a little girl back in early 1970s. So there you go. Perth County Conspiracy does not exist. More regional bands from St. Mary's, Ontario. I've shown this one, Corduroy Gordon, and this is the album Werewolves and High Tides. A great fun album, fun band. They have kind of a bluegrass thing going on in sort of a modern context. They do a cover of Eminem's Without Me, if you can believe it. You can check them out. I think they're on Spotify or all your favorite streaming services. But they also do a wonderful rendition of the Log Driver's Waltz. A lot of humor, a lot of fun with this band. I know this individual, Chet Greason, with the band. So Corduroy Gordon, and kind of a fun cover. Again, a fully independent release. I've talked about this artist before, kind of a blues rock artist called Dan Walsh, and this is his album Loop, or L-E-W-P, and I saw him perform last year in Stratford, and he puts on a great show either with a band, or he also just performs alone, but with kind of the whole sort of electronic thing going on, so it sounds like a full band, but it's full-on kind of blues rock, great singer, performer, and this is pretty much what he looks like. So he's kind of, he says he fits in with both the sort of biker world, if you will, and then also sort of the psychedelic world, if you will. So he plays a lot. He plays right across southwestern Ontario. Worth checking out, Dan Walsh. And he's got a few albums. Most of them are on CD, just a couple of vinyl releases. And last but not least, a band called the Jerry Cans. Now this was a Record Store Day Canada release a few years back. The Jerry Cans from the far north in Nunavut, and they sing in both English and in Inuktitut, and this is their take on Tragically Hip's Ahead by a Century, singing in their language, in Inuktitut. And this was a Record Store Day release, a band I would love to see. They just have great energy, always put on a great show, and pretty cool. Okay, so that's my entry for the contest that's happening. Again, TC, congratulations on your channel and all your subscribers. And Vinyl Richie, Vinyl Richie sent me. We'll chat again soon. Take care, bye-bye.